I speed through life. I've always done this. And I love it. I love the pace. I'd rather sprint than jog. It's just the way that I live, and I love that about myself. But I also, the older I get, the more I appreciate things in a different capacity. The more I'm open-minded to things I've never experienced before, where I was so laser focused before, but today my peripheral is so much wider. You also have to recognize that the older you get, the more breaks you need. The more you need to feel like you're completing something. A battle that business people have all the time, a challenge business people have, is if you're highly successful and you're highly driven and you're finding financial success or life success or marriage success, whatever it is, you're probably putting a lot of energy into that. New experiences are great for all of us, right? And I recently went to Floyd Fest, which is a music festival, one of the largest music festivals on the East Coast, and it was a totally new experience. But I think telling the story as to why is really, really valuable, and there's a couple of great learning lessons here. First of all, I run the Chesapeake, Virginia Wine Festival with our Chesapeake Rotary Club, and I have always had a fascination with how other people put on festivals, and I had never seen start to finish a music festival. So my curiosity drove me to want to understand something different, right? When Pharrell did Something in the Water, I was there day one that they started setup, and I watched every single thing they did every day. I worked from the beach, I watched it, I wanted to learn from what I could do better. What are the things that are cutting edge, right? So curiosity led me to have an understanding, but here's the big thing. What actually drove me is maybe a bit unique, and that is they were announcing they were going to do it. They were going to do it to CDC guidelines and all the things they had to do, but they were going to do it well before anybody else had announced they were going to do an event that size. And I was intrigued by it. It was March or April of this year, and I basically said, I'm going to call the person that set up the festival and I'm going to talk to them because I want to understand how they're making this decision and how I can learn from it. Because I have an event I'm going to run in October and I want to make sure it's successful and I want to follow the guidelines, and I needed to learn. So I literally researched who set the festival up. I found their number and I called them. Had a great conversation with them and was so intrigued by it that I said, look, my company wants to sponsor you. Put together a package. What you have right now is not something that I think is going to be perfect for us, but if you can put together a package that fits these needs, I'd love to support you because our culture is all about this. And I know how hard this is right now to run an event, especially in this current environment, but I wanted to learn from him. And so we had a couple conversations, we built it out. Fast forward. It's now time to go to a music festival. And I've never camped ever in my life. I've never camped, but I wanted to have a somewhat of a camping experience. So I did two things. I rented a very inexpensive cabin in the woods. That was about 15 minutes off the Blue Ridge Parkway right outside of Floyd, Virginia. And I also had a campsite. And so I wanted to do something different. I wanted to really experience the festival. And so here's the first lesson I learned in talking through this and really thinking through this. Lesson number one is you got to put yourself in different environments, different worlds, different people, right? I wanted to set up a tent and learn from it. I wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to understand the camping mentality. And I know that some of you camp all the time and you get it and you love it. And I mean, quite frankly, I never saw the intrigue. But at 40-something years old, I am really interested. And so I wanted to really get out and see it. And so I set up a tent and I set up a cot and I set up next to a family. So all these people are there and they're young or they're older. And I said, I'm going to find a family. So I found a phenomenal family, husband and wife, and a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. They became my best friends at the entire event. The funniest part is when I was setting up my tent, the kids, the 3 and the 6-year-old, are just staring at me right to the side. And they're like, Dad, he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. I think he needs help. Daddy, are you going to help him? I mean, this was the conversation. I'm cracking up. I mean, I'm almost crying at the fact that these kids are calling me out and I'm clueless. I am setting it up, but I'm learning. I'm failing. It's dark. I have lost so many ways in this and I'm going to get it done. So dad ends up coming over and helping me, and he's awesome, and the family's awesome, and it was a very good decision that I made to set up next to a family. I also thought, hey, I'm going to be in and out. Who is going to be at their tent more than the average person? A family. Young kids, they'll be there earlier, so less likely to have people mess with my stuff. You know, all these things were things that I think about. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I set up there. I also looked at this as a chance to experience great music, great experience. I mean, this was a festival with all kinds of music. It wasn't just what I listened to every day. It was a unique experience. There was a different level of energy, a very, very different level of energy, positive energy, love, experience, super fun and intriguing to me. Couple that with a trip to the woods, right? A cabin in the woods. Now, why is that important? Well, in my opinion, it's really important sometimes to get away from it all. But you're not getting away from anything that you don't love at home. You're not leaving your family. You're not wanting to be around your children or wanting less time with your spouse. What you're really trying to do a lot of times, at least for me, is recharge, rejuvenate, have a rebirth of the end of the year. You know, whatever it may be that you need to actually get more in tune with you. You have to separate to evaluate you. What's your health like? What's your mental health like? What's your physical health like? Are you rested? Are you having time to relax? You know, so I use this time to slow down. I wear this Whoop, and my goal is to be in the green all the time. That means I'm in max recovery during a time where I'm rejuvenating. Now, you're not going to be like that every day in life, but if you're going to go to a music festival and you're going to go into the woods and you're going to go to complete a project, so I was there to complete my book, which was a manuscript that I've been working on for 2 years. And I needed to finally approve it. Well, what better place to have this story approved than in the woods by myself where I could self-evaluate. And so, music festival experience, self-evaluation, and time to myself, very, very valuable. Self-awareness. There were moments in this trip where I was just driving on the Blue Ridge Parkway and I'm seeing deer everywhere. And I'm stopping to overlook at the beautiful scenery. Or I'm sitting on my porch having a cup of coffee and I'm watching a family of turkeys walk across my driveway. I mean, I was in the woods, folks, really in the woods. And it was awesome. It was just a totally different experience. But it gave me a moment to chill, to slow down. See, one of the realizations I've been making and I continue to make as I go is I speed through life. I've always done this. And I love it. I love the pace. I'd rather sprint than jog. It's just the way that I live, and I love that about myself. But I also, the older I get, the more I appreciate things in a different capacity. The more I'm open-minded to things I've never experienced before, where I was so laser focused before, but today my peripheral is so much wider. You also have to recognize that the older you get, the more breaks you need. The more you need to feel like you're completing something. A battle that business people have all the time, a challenge business people have is if you're highly successful and you're highly driven and you're finding financial success or life success or marriage success, whatever it is, you're probably putting a lot of energy into that. And if you're putting a lot of energy into that, you're getting tired sometimes. And if you don't recognize that the older we get, the more tired we get quicker, and the more we need to feel like we're producing something. You know, the challenge you have is everybody I know and hang around with for the most part are hard chargers, right? They're entrepreneurs, they love their life, they're like, I love my work, I would never stop doing this. But they lie to you if they don't tell you the truth in their brain, and that is sometimes they question, are they going too fast? Do they need to slow down? Are they enjoying it? And you'll find they create moments in their day. They create moments in their life. They create moments in the week that are quick separations that help them recharge. Maybe you do it every day with a power nap. Maybe it's that afternoon coffee. Maybe it's when you find yourself running from appointment to appointment, you stop at the edge of the steps and you say a quick prayer and you walk out the door. I do that all the time. These are just some of the things that going to a music festival, stepping outside my boundaries, understanding the need to separate to be a better version of myself. Not separating because I don't love my life and my wife and my family and all the things that are a part of my day-to-day, the business. I worked every day. I got up, I had a cup of coffee, and I started reading. I finished the manuscript. Then I went to work. And then I made time in the afternoons to go on my time, to drive in and out of the festival, to meet new people, to listen to new music. I met a client there. We sat and watched the sunset over one of the stages of a band that I've never heard of and never seen, but they were awesome. These are experiences I'll never take back and I'll never get back, but I fit them into the day-to-day, to the week-to-week, to the month-to-month, because I know when you go as fast as I've been going, recharging is invaluable. But don't ever question whether or not we're all thinking about taking a break. There's nothing wrong with thinking about taking a break. To the hard chargers, have you ever found yourself justifying that I'm always working? I just went through that path and I actually said I worked until this time. I often wonder if I've gotten so used to it that I have to say something like that to make myself feel better because I took a break. When you get so busy and you're working so much, sometimes you need those reminders. Well, I encourage you to take a trip to the woods. I encourage you to book a music festival you've never been to with music that you'd be surprised if you listened to it. My trip culminated with my favorite band, which is the Avett Brothers, and I love their music because they hit every single type, from rock to bluegrass to folk to singer-songwriter to, just sometimes even rhyming, just the way that they touch everything, but their words are poetry. And I sat and I watched Saturday night, the last night that I was there, with my sister who came to visit with me, and we had an amazing time. The stage had the woods behind it, the lighting, people all around us singing, stars in the sky, heat lightning in the corner. It was absolutely perfect. And honestly, that makes me feel recharged. I have chills just talking about the moment because I don't think we get enough of those moments. If you love something, take time to enjoy it. I don't do that all the time, and I'm hoping to make more of that in my life every single day, every single year. Sometimes it's daily moments, sometimes it's weekly pauses, sometimes it's once-in-a-lifetime events. But after the last couple of years and the craziness that we've lived through, I vowed that if I had a chance to see my favorite band play close, I'm going to see them. If I have a chance to tell someone I love them because I haven't enough, I'm doing it. That's part of living life and making sure that every moment counts. And so I learned how to put up a tent, and I learned how to separate a little bit more, and I saw a family of turkeys, and I sang my favorite songs, and I had an experience that quite frankly recharged me, only to come home for a day and travel again to a business meeting where I went for 9 hours and then dinners, and I was exhausted. But that recharge gave me everything I needed. And I finished my book, which is pretty cool. So I'll give you more details on that as it comes up. But the reality is, what are you doing to recharge yourself? When are you taking those moments? Are you taking the moments in the day to pause, to remember why you do what you do? Are you questioning whether or not you work too much? Do you love what you do? Do you love what you do so much that maybe it's too much? Do you ever go out in nature and just listen? Have a cup of coffee by yourself? Are you making that time for yourself? These are all questions I asked myself the whole time I was there. And I don't have it all figured out. I'm learning as I go, and I'm just sharing a little bit with you as I go. So if you stayed through this video to watch this story, thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding the process of which I went through. And the truth is, ask yourself these questions. Don't wait to do something today that you really could do, because I can tell you, I can't replicate the way I felt that last night. I can't replicate that scene, that feeling, the music, the energy, all of it. I can't. And I like to go to bed pretty early, and it was late, but I stretched myself to enjoy it. And you know what? Worth every single moment. Thanks for joining me. Tell me what you're doing to do these things. How are you taking moments, and how do you answer the questions I brought up just a moment ago?